This video is perfectly enjoyable through audio alone. You do not need the video to enjoy the video to its fullest. However, if you want to watch it, that's fine. Just know that it might be very repetitive. That's not to say that the writing and dialogue is repetitive, but you get the idea. Just watch. Enjoy. I have been stuck at the Sudowoodo encounter in Pokemon Heart Gold for about a month now. My party is absolutely capable of whittling down its HP in order to catch it or knock it out. And yet, I've fought this basic static encounter over 1,000 times now. Over 2,000 even. Maybe even over 3,000. Luckily, each encounter takes no more than 10 seconds. And here's how I do it. I mash the A button until the battle commences, and then watch the bulbs on Sudowoodo's hands. And when those bulbs are green, I quickly move my fingers to the appropriate buttons and reset the game. I mash the A button until the battle commences, and then watch the bulbs on Sudowoodo's hands. And when those bulbs are green, I quickly move my fingers to the appropriate buttons and reset the game. I mash the A button until the battle commences and then watch the bulbs on Sudowoodo's hands, and when those bulbs still aren't red, I once again reset the game. This has been the procedure for the past few weeks, and it shows no signs of change. I worry that the singular encounter with the red-handed Sudowoodo will be met with this automatic procedure I've programmed my brain to execute. I'll be zoning out, watching the next episode of Westworld, watching as these artificial intelligence creations learn to deviate from their programmed paths. They learn how to unprogram themselves from their own reality, as I execute the same action again and again in this fictional world in which I've immersed myself. I may have the deity-like power to revert my position to a time before the outcome of a random event, but I cannot control the odds. If God created man in his image, then maybe God does play dice with the universe after all. In Pokemon Heart Gold and Pokemon Soul Silver, the probability of encountering a shiny Pokemon, a Pokemon of different color, from any given encounter is 1 in 8,192. About a 0.0122% chance. Less than 1/100% chance of an off-colored digital critter appearing. I am more likely to become an astronaut for NASA, at least from the 2016 class of applicants in which only 12 of 18,300, making this a 0.066% chance, than I am to find this Sudowoodo. The probability of this shiny Pokemon appearing is roughly twice the probability of being struck by lightning in my lifetime, which is 1 in 15,300, or 0.0065%. That's how rare of an event this is. And yet, I know it is possible for a random event of this rarity to occur. I have experienced it firsthand. I was playing Pokemon Emerald back in 2008 when I happened upon a shiny Gulpin beneath the cycling road on Route 110. It was any other day and I was running through any other patch of grass when I happened upon the blue blob. I caught it and named it Shiny 1 in preparation of the countless number of Pokemon that I would find that would be shiny later in life. Whoever Shiny 2 was, they would be found sooner or later. But this was a random, independent event. Finding this shiny Pokemon did not suddenly trigger the forces of the universe to give me some kind of special bias and improve the odds for me and me alone. The chances remained the same. 1 in 8,192. Some people go through their whole Pokemon careers without finding a single random shiny Pokemon in the wild, but I am not one of those people. Fortune has favored me, which is why it is so baffling that despite my persistence, my elegance in my programming, my efficiency in pressing 4 buttons at once, this Sudowoodo refuses to have red bulbs on its hands. If it wasn't clear, I'm soft resetting for a Shiny Sudowoodo. There's a set encounter with this Pokemon in Johto, in fact all of the Johto-based Pokemon games, which makes this spot an excellent location to attempt to catch it in its shiny form. By saving right before an encounter, I can hunt down the specific Pokemon's shiny form both intentionally and efficiently by quickly re-rolling the random number generator for the encounter. This practice, again known as soft resetting, where we restart the game without turning off the console's power, is a common practice in many Pokemon games. Given that every Pokemon has almost every single unique aspect stochastically determined, it makes sense that players may attempt to bend around the limits of randomness for a desired trait. For example, speedrunners will actively manipulate RNG in order to get a Pokemon's stats and nature to be a very specific number. They hunt for the exact values to make sure they don't have to rely on randomness to get a knockout on a very specific Pokemon near the end of the game. They are intentional with what they want. Competitive VGC players from years with GS Cup rules will have to reset for the desired individual values on the legendary Pokemon they want to use on their team in order to live a very specific Precipice Blades from Groudon, for example. And then there are the shiny hunters. The freaks of nature who decide to soft reset to get an off-color Pokemon. A shiny Pokemon contributes nothing to the effectiveness of a Pokemon beyond the 2nd generation. I am playing in the 4th generation. Like the antlers on a prized buck on the wall of the hunter's basement den, people showing off shiny Pokemon do it exclusively and solely for the admirations of their peers. I assume I am not a shiny hunter. Or maybe I am. Who knows? Is that really it? Do shiny hunters just do it to flex on others? This question has slowly but surely crept into my brain as I watch the animation of Ho-Oh fly across the sunset on the title screen for the 624th time. There were 3, and only 3, motivators that prompted this hunt. The first, I wanted to play through Heart Gold or Soul Silver again, which isn't a shock. They're fun games, and they're from my youth. I have a lot of nostalgia for these games. I watched them come out. I followed the pre-release hype. When the first screenshots on Cerebi.net came out, I was ecstatic. I remember hearing the rumors that the Johto remakes were just around the corner. I like Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They are great games, with fantastic amounts of content to explore and see as you get through the game. So of course, I wanted to replay them. The second reason was that I had recently watched the incredibly charismatic streamer Smallant complete a mono-shiny run of these games, enlightening me to just how many static encounters there were in the game. Obviously, I didn't want to run with those rules, but I thought it was very interesting just the amount of times you could find shiny Pokemon solely based on soft resetting. The fact that you get a free one in the red Gyarados is enough to consider a mono shiny run, though I decided I knew myself well enough that I did not want to do that. And the third was that a friend of mine decided to begin soft resetting for a shiny starter, again, hilariously enough, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I had no aspirations of completing a shiny live dex, which is just the process of collecting every single Pokemon in their shiny forms. I had no aspirations of hunting shiny Pokemon in general, to be honest. I had always held the opinion that the people who spent their time playing the odds were wasting their time. There was no trophy at the end of the road. and the mind-numbing effort of resetting, hunting, chaining, fishing, poke-radaring, dex-naving. Running around in the grass in the Friends Safaris did not appeal to me and my easily distracted mind. Like Sisyphus rolling his boulder, the effort seemed absurd and a poor use of my limited time. And yet, I started my journey back at the end of July for a fun little venture. After a tiring Friday, I came home, put on some random clip compilations of a content creator whose names I will not disclose at this time, and then started soft resetting at the starter wheel. The convenient thing about Heart Gold and Soul Silver is that the starters will appear shiny immediately on the rotation, rather than in other games where you'll have to go through some extra hoops, with them being dialogue boxes, or waiting for a battle to start, or having to open a menu or two. All I had to do was reset the game, press left or right 3 times to make sure I didn't miss anything, and then restart the game. I had been planning to do only a couple soft resetting sessions, and if after only a couple hours I got nowhere, I'd pick a Chikorita and be on my way with a normal playthrough. I promised my partner that I would use Chikorita on this playthrough as I had used Cyndaquil and Totodile in previous playthroughs, so Chikorita was the goal, but if somehow I did get a shiny of the others, I would use that, you know? But of course, I wasn't thinking that I was going to get a shiny. I was just sort of going at it and seeing what would happen, and if I happened to get a shiny Pokemon, real frickin' cool. But by the time an hour had passed, and I had done approximately 200 resets, I had gotten too sleepy to function, so I cut my losses, called it a night, and snoozed into the weekend. Waking up the following Saturday morning, something in my gut told me to keep going. The addictive tendency rested deep within my psyche told me to try at least one more time, but really it was a couple more times. Okay, for maybe like another hour, just do it and see what happens. And so I returned to New Bark Town and started soft resetting again. I could tell myself that I would stop after another hour without any luck. And so, I returned to New Bark Town and started soft resetting again. I could tell myself that I would stop after another hour without any luck. But I'm also capable of lying to myself. Luckily, the universe wanted to preserve my integrity, as less than 10 minutes into my new resetting venture, a pink gold Chikorita appeared on my screen. A total of less than 220 resets had rewarded A total of less than 220 resets had rewarded me with not only a shiny, but the shiny that I had been hoping for the whole time. I rushed into the bedroom like a child and woke up my partner as she rested in bed, the clock barely reading 8:15 a.m. And she, the editor of this video, has commented on this script saying, "It's okay, I love the excitement, especially for Chikorita." So, I guess everything worked out fine. And so, I decided then and there that every static encounter in the game I found, I would reset for the shiny version of that Pokemon. I had already beaten the Generation 4 Johto games, so this would be a new spin on the journey. It was fine, I thought, as I continued through Violet City and Azalea Town. I was still using non-shiny Pokemon on my team. I had a female Geodude, which would be useful against Whitney. I caught a Slowpoke because I wanted to use Slowbro. I had begun building this team with these Pokemon, and I had started to develop a connection. I would have Eevee coming up, which I'd eventually try to go for with an Umbreon, probably, and a Sudowoodo, which probably wouldn't take that long, right? It has now been exactly a month. I do my soft resets twice a week for a couple hours at a time as I listen to the AI the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative soundtrack on repeat, which, hilariously enough, I'm actually listening to with my headphones on as I record to get me in the vibe. I could stream this process on my Twitch, but I believe that would ruin things for me somehow. It would remove the arbitrary meaning I've imposed on this struggle. This is my meditative journey upon which I must embark alone. It is a test of will and spirit and conviction. I do want this red-handed rock type. I do. And this would be all well and good on any normal piece of hardware. While the process of moving Pokemon from the Generation 4 games is tedious, expensive, and requires at least 2 different DSC stems, it is not impossible. I, however, am opting for a different approach, as I have been exercising my right to operate an emulator. Desmume may allow me to fast-forward my attempts, but it does not let me move my prizes to Pokemon Home under normal circumstances. And while I can actually move mons from emulated games to my real-life Pokemon Home games in Gen 8, that's a conversation for another time. Won't go into it right now. All you have to know is it's actually really easy to hack your 3DS. These conquests are otherwise doomed to remain on this simple space forever. They, inside the hard drive, won't be left behind in an apartment somewhere when I move, or sold at a garage sale by an unwitting parent. Rather, they will exist onward indefinitely. Their data stored in a .sav file hosted on 2 separate hard drives and 3 online data servers, one of which includes GitHub, meaning that there is permanent version control, baby. They are doomed to be obsolete, called upon only when I want to return to their digital universe again, to explore the contained worlds of Johto and Kanto. So why, then, do I bother if these Pokemon are the sole few that cannot be transferred onward into the future generations with the rest of my cherished partners, the data that I've grown so attached to? I have a physical copy of Soul Silver, sure, but I wouldn't want to throw away the previous experience that I had back in 7th grade. Nostalgia is one hell of a drug. So then, why not go out and buy a copy of Heart Gold? That, of course, is an entirely different beast of a problem. A used copy of the Generation 4 Pokemon games can go for at least $100 easily, and that's if it works. That's absurd in its own right. And so, I resort to the most reliable means I can find. Emulation. Which is, again, not a crime. Yet. There's no legal precedence to call it a crime. So I'm fine. The way I'm playing is totally fine, man. Just trust me, I did my research. And with emulation, or even a physical copy, comes the ability to apply world-warping changes by cheating. I could just implement a code that improves my shiny odds to 1 out of 1, for example. Every Pokemon I find is a shiny. I can get them all in shiny form, and no one can stop me. I could find that 120 character long action replay code and type it into that action replay I got that had one of my earliest girlfriends mad at me because I owned it because it said that I was capable of cheating. I have one of those, and I could use it, and it would make my life so much easier. And yet, I don't. Why? I feel like it would cheapen the result. Like running the first mile of a marathon, and then taking a car to the 26th mile, and finishing the last 5th of a mile. So why do I choose the struggle? I have a number of questions that I ask myself as I reset the game for the 2000th time. Is this really how I want to spend my evenings, wasting away at a shot in the dark for what is basically a slightly different hex value? But if this is what brings me joy, then why shouldn't I? If imposing arbitrary rules upon myself as a means to maintain a new experience is how I want to play the game, who can determine whether that decision is meaningful or not beyond me? Am I at odds with the universe itself, daring it to create another truly random event simply to prove it's possible? Am I raising my fist at God who simply won't let me see the red-fingered Sudowoodo because he believes I am not worthy? And what benefit to my life does this Sudowoodo bring besides being the key that unlocks the next small segment of the game I enjoy before I begin soft resetting for the Eevee? But what is it that I really want in this situation? Joy from getting the shiny Pokemon, or something more? Is there a proper way to define the meaningfulness of my actions of consistently resetting the universe again and again and again and again in hopes that I am able to obtain the fleeting green-barked Pokemon? Because let's face it, when presented with this absurd premise, I have 3 options. Option 1. I just give up. If there's not any meaning in the end result of getting this Sudowoodo, then the only choice is to end this task. And it would be the proper way to encapsulate all the struggle I face. There are better things I could be doing rather than this objectively boring act of doing the same thing over and over and over, not being guaranteed a victory. Not having any kind of assurance that this random event will ever happen again in the span of time I will play Pokemon Heart Gold. And without this guarantee, why should I waste my time with this ultimately pointless and frankly ridiculous way of spending my free time? Should I just end it all? Option 2. I believe in a higher power at work. I could begin to believe that RNGesus is there, watching over me, and objectively judging my actions through life, and that, when they believe that I have been a good little gamer, I will be rewarded with my shiny Sudowoodo. Or maybe it's to believe in some kind of higher purpose at work in my attempts to find this shiny Sudowoodo. I could come to the conclusion that in the process of resetting, I should find a way to make my work beneficial for others in contributing to a greater ideology that is beyond me. Perhaps to raise money. A penny for every reset goes to a charity of my choice. But then why not donate my time in a more realistic, meaningful, and direct method than subjecting myself to a menial slog just to send a couple $100 to a charity when I could be out there working with my own 2 hands, meeting the people that I will be directly impacting? Am I not better than that? Would RNGesus want me to do that instead? And would I be doing that solely for my own self-serving gains of mental well-being? Donating this money to justify my ridiculous time-wasting actions? Does it really show? Am I doing this for myself and not because I really care about other people? It's hard to say. Option 3. I lean into it. I lean into the hunt. I meet the mission with confidence and acknowledge the absurdity of the situation and keep going to reach my goal, which never really had meaning in the first place. Shiny Pokemon do not bring more meaning into my life, and yet I've chosen to play this way. I know what happens when I find the shiny. I keep going until the next static encounter, and then the next, and then the next, until I make my way to the top of Mount Silver and defeat Red. And then what? I've just finished a game that I have already beaten when I was 10 years younger than I am now. The outcome is the same, regardless of my actions, so why do I find such a pleasure in rebelling against the nature of the game itself? In truth, there is no master of the universe telling me that I must play this game a certain way. Only angry internet posters, and they have no jurisdiction in telling me what I can and cannot do with my spare time within reason. So, in a sense, the world is neither sterile nor futile, and each soft reset creates a new experience in and of itself. No one will ever experience this journey the exact same way I have, So why shouldn't I lean into what makes it new and different to me? My lived experience here is different from everyone else's. And while it may be ridiculous, it is still a new experience to me. Of Mr. Camus' 3 options, I lean towards the last one. Not because I am a firm believer in the sunk cost fallacy, or because I believe that Junichi Masuda secretly monitors every copy of Pokemon Heart Gold and picks and chooses when to be benevolent, but because I find joy in being able to choose this action. I am able to decide to do something menial and boring, something that people would look at and think that I'm attempting to fray at the seams of reality. And in a way, that is what I'm doing. I'm imposing my will on a pocket universe in which I want a desired outcome. But this isn't a one-sided game. The pocket universe imposes its intrinsically owned rules against me, upon me. And so we engage in a war of attrition where one of us will eventually give in. The difference is that I am able to live my life and choose whether I want to keep going or not. The game is only able to respond to my whims. Unlike Pokemon Heart Gold, I have control over the life I want to live, the rules of my life, and the games I choose to play. Even if this shiny Sudowoodo will not grant me a single reward beyond itself, I am still pleased as I am able to confidently say that I chose to pursue this creature, that I had the autonomy to do so, that I rejected the conventional means of the world to do something strange and different, all because I felt like spending my painfully limited amount of time on this earth in that way. A tiny piece of data that's slightly different from every other tiny, ultimately insignificant piece of data determined only by a dice roll. Also, it can remain trapped on an inaccessible island of a computer. This is the sole thing that has prevented me from reaching Ecruteak City for almost a month. And yet, I find satisfaction because this obstacle and its eventual existence is of my own creation. Sisyphus rolls the boulder, knowing full well that it is a fruitless and impossible task. But unlike Sisyphus, whose heart must be filled because of his struggle, I am not condemned to a similar fate of rolling a rock. Rather, I am just rolling for a rock. Every moment I see the green bulbs on Sudowoodo's hands, I am like Sisyphus, watching the boulder roll back down the slope. I see the toil, acknowledge the pointlessness of my actions, and then mash the A button all over again. All is well. Like Sisyphus, one must imagine me happy.
Yes! Yes! There it is! Oh, baby, there it is! Oh, yes! There it is! I did it, baby! I really made it! Oh, there it is! God bless America!
This video was made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
This video was written by me, with edits to the script from airguac.
Fucking go. Okay.
Creative consultation for this video was done by airguac and pikapeaches. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and perhaps commenting about your own experiences with rebelling against society by playing video games in a way different from the way they were intended. I do this on my own spare time, writing, editing, recording, editing. All of these things are done at my own time, at my own leisure, So I very much appreciate you all watching this, taking the time out of your busy day to spend it listening to me ramble about some philosophical bullshit about a Pokemon game. So, I hope you'll stick around, and if there are any things that, you'd like to know more about, I can write about a lot of things. Yes! There we go! Okay, finally. Thank you. Thank God, it's over. The misery is over. Thanks again.